Well, hello and welcome back to this new episode of the Josie the One podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josie, and I'm today joined by a fellow lady of the mastermind I'm part of. But she is also an incredible branding coach, has built a multiple six-figure business, and lives with her husband and furry baby Luna in Dubai, in a place where I have to say has the most stunning sunsets you could ask for. So, huge welcome to you, Kübra.
Hi, thank you for making me be a part of your podcast. I'm super excited to be here.
Of course. I feel literally so honored to get to spend this time with you and to pick your brain about all things personal brand and how to stand out by honing in on who we really are and what makes us unique. But I'd love for you first to just share more about yourself and like what's your story and what got you to where we are today or where you are today.
I love that. Thank you for the intro. So generally, it all started with me not really knowing what I want to do. No, jokes aside, when I met my husband, we came up with this great idea. We weren't still married. Why are we a part of the corporate jobs? Why are we letting others decide on our successes? And we had purely enough of that. So what we thought about is, okay, why don't we start something together? And then we came up with this idea to start an e-commerce business, as it doesn't need a lot of financial budget for you to get it started at the beginning. There's different ways how you can do it. So we said, okay, let's do it. And when we went deeper into it, we started to realize what it really means to build a business. And, it went forward and we started to realize that we need to leverage our business when it comes to the way we are presenting ourselves. So our
Mhm.
online presence. So we hired a brand designer, a visual brand designer back then, and she did a great looking logo and visual identity for our brand. But what I realized is that in my day to day work while building that e-commerce store, I didn't know how to convert. I didn't know how to sell. I didn't know how to use whatever I was told to express my business out and to attract the right people to my business. So back then in the bundle that we chose, it was brand strategy was included in there. So I,
Mhm.
I started to understand, I was like, that couldn't be a strategy. That's just a type of market research. And I've realized that it's not the issue of choosing the right fund or the way you want to present yourself. Instead of it's more about understanding how you need to express yourself so it's clear what value you provide so you can build a reputation. So over the years, as you said, our business grew more and more with different things that we tried together with my husband, where we set up a strategy for our business and where we went deeper into it. And we went from having phone calls, and back then I had these phone calls, honestly, with customers that didn't recognize our brand at all, to customers that
Mhm.
bought 7, 8, 10 times and were recommending our business to others. And that's like the transformation we saw when we dig deeper into what we really want to represent and the reputation we want to build in the business. And that's how I came here today, because I don't want other business owners, no matter if it's a personal brand or if it's if it's product related businesses, to struggle with that pain of just getting stuck in the way they visually express themselves
Mm.
instead of really showing the impact they make in people's life for them to join them and for them to be a part of their community and tribe, their brand.
Mm.
Yeah.
I
So
love
that's
that.
how I became a branding coach and strategist now. So yeah.
Yeah, like a true expert really in the space. So how would you then define like what exactly like is personal branding and why is it also like so important? You obviously experience the impact it has firsthand, but why would you say in general it's really important not only for business owners, but maybe also people like in corporate to have like a strong personal brand to express themselves authentically?
I love that you're saying it because it's so fundamental. I think we should step back and first talk about brand, because even that
Hmm.
term is like, it's so overused, and it's still
Hmm.
something that is not like you cannot grab it and say, okay, that's a brand, or you cannot see it or touch it in a way. Because at the end of the day, a brand is the reputation others have about your business, about you. So what they are thinking, feeling. So, there's certain quotes where people say what others are saying about you when you're not in the room. And you can really feel like that. You can think like that. It's really what they want, what you want them to remember about you. That's like the brand. And when we talk about branding, we talk a lot about, and I feel like it's even more important to highlight that it's about the reputation you want to build. So, what do you want others to talk, say, think, feel,
Mhm.
and remember about yourself when it comes to personal branding or about your business? And when we say personal branding, exactly how I said it, it's really about making sure that you authentically represent your personality, who you are through everything that you do in.
Mhm.
And you build a picture in the mind of people to know who you are. And it's really like if you are moving to a new city and you are trying to get social and trying to go out and you want to meet new people, you can imagine it like this. At the end of the day, it all starts with first seeing the person. How does that person look? Is she vibing with me? How is her smile? How is, mimic and gestic? Like, how's she moving and how's she talking? And then you go deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And that's at the end of the day how brands are built. And that's why it's so important, no matter where you are, to focus on the way you're presenting yourself and the way you're building your brand. So, to the question of corporate and personal branding, we all have already a brand. And I want to highlight that. I'm sorry, I cannot stop talking about it. I want to
Keep
highlight
going, keep going. I love that you're on a roll.
when we talk about a brand, people think about they start somewhere to build a brand.
Mhm.
Brands are already there because people already perceive you. But the question is, how do you want them to perceive you? Because you have the control of influencing them to see you in a certain way, which should be authentic. I'm not trying to tell you be somebody else, but you
Mhm.
can show different sides. You are different with your partner than you are with me. You're different with your clients or with somebody you don't know, right? And you're different in the corporate space with your boss than with any colleague or whatsoever.
Mhm.
So the brand that we're building simply depends on whom do we want to have a certain image in their mind and how will we make that how will we make sure that we have that image in our mind. So yeah, that's all to that topic of branding and why it's so important.
Mhm. That kind of like sparked the question in me though, because you obviously like you talked about the topic around how we want others to perceive us, right? So how do we stay authentic and not put like a fake mask out there because we feel like, oh, we need to be perceived as this in order to be successful, but actually no, it still has to be authentic. It still has to be real because people can sniff out the
100%.
fakeness, right?
People, especially now, people get more and more aware of what is true and what is not right. And it's like almost like a filter people have, especially now in 2024. They really looking because they started to realize that a lot of people are just bluffing, right? They just
Mhm.
trying to show a picture that they are really not. So when we talk about authenticity, it simply means that you're aligned with the vision, the mission, and the values that you have. And I know a lot of people are like, meh, that's not that interesting because it takes a lot of work. I think people are not interested in that area because it takes a lot of self-reflection and work,
Oh, yes.
right? So people tend to push it away because they're like, I don't know how to work on that. And that's understandable because you cannot define a mission or uh, your vision whatsoever from just sitting down and saying, okay, I'll just write it down now. It takes work to find it out. And when we talk about authenticity, it simply really means that you're clear about that fundament. And in branding, we talk about brand DNA. So it's like really where you're intertwining it and where you're setting the fundament to build everything on top of it. This includes your vision, your purpose, your values and beliefs, because according to that, you are portraying yourself. And I'm sure we all had that in the corporate world. We feel, or no matter in private or anyhow in business, or even us now, that's like the real example. We have shared values and beliefs, and that's
Mm.
why we fit so well. And we're like having a flow, and we can talk and have conversations on deeper levels, on deeper on different topics, right? So you need to be clear about that first in order to stay authentic with it and then to express it. That's like being self aware to then know what to say and how to portray yourself, I would say.
Mm. I absolutely love that because what I was also thinking when you were talking about it, I was like, yeah, self-awareness,
Yeah.
self-awareness. And I keep on repeating that all the time. Like self-awareness
Yeah.
is the first step.
100%.
You got to know yourself. You got to know, as you say, your values, your beliefs, your vision, like what you want to stand for. And that takes time to like find out. It's not just like, oh, I want to do this. No, it's like, okay, what feels right? Like what rings a bell for you? What lights your soul on fire? What feels like, yes, this is something I absolutely like want to stand for and represent. And that can take some journaling. It can take some discussions with other people, or maybe other ways that you would go about helping your clients as well to be more self-aware in that regard.
Well, it's always, as you said, first of all, it's a journey. I think a lot
Yeah.
of people, they are really like too much focused on, like, as I said, when I started whatever I'm doing right now, I didn't know that I'll end up into it. I was so interested in consumer psychology and I always wanted to study like psychology. But back then it was just private universities offering it and I didn't have the budget back then. So your journey is always setting you to where you want to be. I totally believe in that. Like you taking the steps to come to where you want to be. That's for sure. So be aware of what do you imagine yourself or how do you see yourself in the life you're living? Like, what do you want to
Mm.
achieve? And I think that's a tricky question because sometimes we're not sure about it. Like, is that the right path or no? But we have that gut feeling, right? We have
Mm.
that, it's hard to say it, but I'm sure everyone knows it. Like you're working on something and you feel like I need to do more. Like I could talk with you about branding for hours and hours because it's a topic that I love. And when I teach it, it's so helpful. So when it comes to authentically representing yourself, simply think about the environments that you're in and where you are seeing the most growth in yourself as well. Like, what do people tell you who you are, what they like about you, and then reflect it back and say, is this something you truly want to express or that you truly want to stand for? It's always trying to find out as well, is the way I'm perceived right now the way I want to be perceived? And I'm not saying here for you to change, but in different environments, you might show different sides of yourself. So to find out what
Mm.
type of side is like, I don't mean that any side of that is not authentic. It simply means how yeah, confident you are in certain environments. Certain environments are so known. It's like your best friends. You trust them so much. You open up for everything. And then there are other environments where you might hold back on certain topics. And that's something I want to highlight when we talk about personal branding. It doesn't mean that you have to show your whole life, your partner,
Mhm.
where you live. This simply depends on you. Of course, you need to build trust, but you can do limitations as well. You don't have to, show your whole personality. I think a lot of people back out from it because they're like, oh, I need to show everything. No,
Mm.
you can stand for something and you can build trust in certain areas. That depends on you, but that depends as well on whom you're attracting to your business. So again, I'm going deep into the topics. I'm sorry, Josie. So journaling and all these things help as
Mhm.
well. And finding out how others perceive you right now and what is aligned to who you want to be. Yeah.
Mm, that is so powerful. And I really love that you pointed out that you don't have to share everything in
Yes.
order to be authentic or to share everything to have like a strong personal brand. You are allowed to have those boundaries if you don't feel like sharing those parts of you. That's totally
100%.
okay. Like there are great brands out there who, for example, don't share pictures of their kids, right? Because they want to protect them, or they don't share like specific areas of their lives because they just don't want to, and that's okay. It's not like you take the camera with you 24/7 and you show them everything just in order to be authentic. If you want to do so, cool. That's your
Yes.
style, but it doesn't have to be like this. It's not like a one rule fits all.
100%. I mean, there's a lot of people where we don't know a lot, as you said it, but
Mhm.
still we perceive them in a certain way. We think of them in a certain way. We remember them for certain things, and they have impacted our lives in a certain way. So we're like, yes, we want to keep interacting with them. We want to keep seeing what they're doing. It really means being clear as well what you want to achieve with it. When we
Mhm.
talk about corporate, it simply means, I mean, I'm just assuming here. If you build your brand, which you already do, you're trying to portray a certain type of professionalism or whatever you are known in the area that you focus on, right? So you want to be perceived in a certain way, which authentically should be aligned to you because it doesn't bring you anything if you show off like you were the expert in something and
Mhm.
then it just people realize you're not, you're the best communicator, and then you have to hold a presentation in a meeting and then you simply just
You're
have
sweating. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm back.
imagine, yes, or you shaking, which is totally
Yeah.
natural, but at the end of the day, we need to stay authentic. So when we talk about you building your personal brand in the corporate world, you can simply not say that you're the best communicator and
Mhm.
then you have to hold a meeting or whatsoever and you just have a blackout. You're shaking and people see that you're not an expert in it. That's why it's so truly important for you to stay authentic. But what I want to say is it always depends as well what type of outcome you're expecting from
Mm.
it. And that's what I want to say when it comes to what areas you want to show and not show. What do you think people will get from you showing a certain personality trait of you, a certain strength that you have? Like for instance, you are always going to the gym, which simply tells us as the viewer, wow, she's so confident, she's
Mm.
strong, she cares for her health. Those are perceptions you are planting in my mind as a viewer. So when you are portraying yourself, you're doing this maybe to say, I'm consistent. Maybe you're just doing it out to have fun or to show people that you care for your body and for your health and that you are balancing yourself, because I know you focus on this a lot as well because of the history that you had, knowing how to balance your private life and work and how to release the energies, right? So in order for you to know as well which areas you authentically have to highlight or to keep away, like which ones I don't have to show without forcing yourself, just ask yourself, what do you think those areas will tell your audience? What will it help them
Mm.
think about you, right? Because everything we do, and as I said, is already building a brand. Like, even, no matter, even if you have 2 followers on your social media channels, those 2 followers perceive you in a certain way. And if they like what they are seeing, they'll stay. If they don't like it, they will go. And that's totally fine as well. We're building a brand to let people go as well. It's a filter system. And that's so crucial. I don't know how you think about that because you're building your personal brand, but it's crucial to be authentic to let other people go away as well because they're simply not aligned to you, right? I don't know.
Yes. Yes. I highly agree. Like, I actually was thinking about that kind of questions like back in January when I did like a 15-day challenge. And I did have the question around like my bio, my Instagram bio, and I had like a tagline there. And I was like, it doesn't feel really right. So I wanted to change it. I wanted to adapt it so it speaks more to my ideal client as well, while still representing myself.
Yes.
And it was so interesting because I went into the group chat on Facebook and I was chatting to the ladies and I was like, hey, what do you think? And I put like 2 examples that were completely different. Like one was so in your face, that was like me turned up like 1,000. So it was very extreme. It was very, very bold. And it didn't really feel right. And the other one was a bit more like in the middle. It was more like kind of like toned down. It was okay. It kind of felt authentic, but still there was something missing. And it was really interesting because the feedback I received, like one lady was like, oh my gosh, I love the bold one. Like I immediately subscribed to your channel just because I read that. And other ladies were like, I hate that. And I was like, interesting. That is
Imagine.
so interesting. And then I went with like one that was more in the middle because I didn't want to be like that extreme. I didn't want to like scream into people's faces. You have to do this because that's not my style. Because I'm a coach, right? I empower. I don't tell you what to do. So I didn't want to be perceived as that, right? And obviously now the one I have, I feel way, way, way more aligned with, and that's great. But it was just so interesting to see like how differently like
100%.
the people perceived it, and also to learn to be okay. Like, not everybody needs to love your bio.
No.
Some people will be like, yeah, I love that girl, I'm gonna hit follow. Others will be like, oh, no, 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 stay away from me.
100%, as you said it, it's meant to be not everyone to like you. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing, when you're building your brand or when you focus on building your brand, there's a certain outcome linked to it. You
Mm.
want to, I don't know, you want to rise in the corporate ladder, you want to get a different job, you want to attract more customers to your business that will convert. There's different reasons, but at the end, there is a certain outcome. That's why it's so fundamental to get clear on whom you want to attract, what you want to achieve. But I want to highlight this, and I love that you mentioned the example with not being clear on the messaging. Short, I mean, small changes and in the way you're expressing yourself can make a big difference. When you are doing it by yourself, it can be sometimes pretty hard because you're emotionally too attached to anything that you're doing because you put the work into it. You thought about the bio. Some people might say it's just a bio. I just write anything. There's people, they sit for hours on it and they're like, what
Yes,
type of words
that's
should I
me.
use? Yeah. And that's when we get even more emotionally attached to the outcome because there was a lot of thinking and the thought process was, it was taking us time and efforts. I love that you talked about this thing. First of all, you had two different ones that you did a small survey about getting to know what they liked and didn't like. Because it's important to always track how people perceive you. And that's what I meant as well when you say in which environment you are and how people see you. New environments that you've been in before. I mean, when I talk about environments, I mean just social groups or whatsoever. And the same for when you are on social platforms. What do people think about me? What do people, what do they remember? Like what color do they think is my personality? And stuff like that can make a big role for you to see if it's aligned to who you want to be and if it's the right customer. So you did market research, you did a small survey to really figure out how it is, and you readjusted it. Branding and building your brand is not done by just sitting down and setting up strategy. No, it's a constant development. But I just a random note, because a lot of people, they mix up branding with marketing. I want to say that as well, because at the end we need to market ourselves as well, right? But the difference is, and that's what I want to highlight, branding is something that is for the long term. So you building that personality and that personal brand in people's mind, it takes time. Marketing can be set for something, certain things that you're offering, for example, but branding stays for the long term. So you need to be clear and always root back to your brand DNA. Is this aligned to my beliefs? Is this aligned to my values? Is this really my purpose and what I want to represent? And that's why it's so fundamental. And I know you do a lot of work with your clients in these areas. Now I just want to say, whoever is working on it, I have a lot of respect to what you're doing, and you keep doing it because that's where you are feeling aligned and know the impact you make in people's life and where you feel fueled by it, instead of just running and doing certain things and not moving forward. So it's
Yes.
never perfect. There's never a perfect bio, never a perfect tagline. I think we both know it, right? We're working on this and constant development together as well in the growth program or in the masterclass that we are in. It just needs alignment and adjustment over time and time. So yeah, it's never perfect. And I love that you mentioned this example. And I don't know if you have the same thing. It takes us a lot of, like, even for the way we are, for instance, me and you, the way we are representing ourselves on social media, on Instagram, and the fonts that we use, the colors that we use, it does play a role. Sometimes we perceive it as a bigger role or a bigger impact than it really has, right? But it makes a big change if you change to a certain font or choose a different color, because it must be aligned to your personality. And I don't know how you think about that, how you perceive it, but it's so fundamental and crucial to always root back to who you are, I believe.
Yes, no, I totally agree. And there are a couple of things I want to point out from what you just said. Like the one is in being aligned with your values, your beliefs, and your vision mission, you don't only like create that relationship with others, but you also have the other effect of you being happy with what you put out there, you being aligned with all of that. So that's why it's really so foundational. It's so important to know your values and to use them, I always say, as your compass to navigate through life. It's so absolutely important. And you can find out your values by just asking yourself questions like, what really matters to you? What is important to you? And what, as you say, what do you want to stand for? And what do you want to be known for? And the other thing I also wanted to point out is there's this element of it can easily slip into feeling judged or a fear of judgment. So I feel like there's definitely also a need to talk about one, detaching yourself, detaching your worth from what those people are saying,
Yeah,
but
100%.
also to really strengthen your mindset and building that resilience around that's just me. It's okay. Again, going back to some people, it's okay if they don't like me. It's okay if they don't like my bio.
100%.
Yeah, but what do you feel like maybe are some other roles mindset might be playing when it
Yeah.
comes to personal brand?
I think I love that you mentioned the example. I want to talk about one thing first.
Mm.
You when you mentioned talking about how others perceive me, that could be triggering. I agree. If you are having a certain expectation from something, at the end of the day, me and you, we're fueled by whatever we're doing because we have experienced a certain pain in our lives, right?
Yeah.
And we know how it feels, and the reason why we're here is because we want to help others to not have that pain, and that's what fuels us. So I know personally, I honestly need to say, we sit a lot on the content that we're doing, and I'm including you, but I wanted to say I do, and a lot of my colleagues, and they sit a lot on the work that they're doing. And some people watch it for a few seconds, but I'm trying to detach myself from I'm expecting people to look at it or to see it. Instead, it's more like I know that there are a few people, and that's enough, that are like loyal fans or loyal in my community that always cheer me up and support me. So when I create anything, I try to think about, will this help these few people? And I don't mean to not help everyone else. But when I think about that person, I know that this person learn something, implement something that I'm providing to them. I know that that was like my purpose. That was all I wanted to do. Right. And when you keep doing this, you will improve. We need to say something else. I mean, if you are comparing yourself to a certain person and that might be triggering you if somebody
Mm.
judges about you in a certain way. I was talking about this today. Just go if it's like social media or any channel, go and root back to when they started. Right? I mean, if it triggers you in a certain way, simply be clear about you will be improving over time. You will get better and better and better. And if you don't like certain things, either try to find a way to solve it or make it better, but don't compare yourself to people that have huge advantages, right?
Mm.
They were in the field for years and whatsoever, right? Instead, try to figure out what they did, what strategies they're using, and how they are building everything. I think that's so fundamental. And I want to highlight that because I think when it gets triggering, it's simply that we don't feel aligned with something that we're doing. And that roots back to being authentically you and comparing yourself to somebody else. And I don't want to say never compare yourself to somebody else because we naturally do, I believe, right? We naturally check what others are doing and stuff. But instead of saying, "Oh, why are they doing this and achieving this?"
Mhm.
Ask yourself, "How can I achieve certain results? What do I need to do?" Right? Because that's more like working on yourself instead of just holding yourself back. And I mean, to the question that you had with or how to be in the mindset, in the right
Yes.
mindset to do it. Now, when we talk about the mindset and everything that you do, and I wanted to say that because we talked about the visual representation of our business or ourselves as a person and the way we're portraying ourselves. When we do when we're working on, we call this brand expressions in our terms. What we simply mean is the way you are speaking, your tone of voice, the
Mhm.
way you are writing your copyright, your messaging, the way you are connecting with others, and so on and so forth. This happens at the end of the process, at the end of the strategy process, because first you need to be clear about the brand DNA, who you are, what you're doing, and then you need to gain deeper insights into whom you want to attract and all these things. And the reason why I say that is because your mindset will shift once you have evaluated certain areas. We are simply
Mm.
triggered and brain fogged when we are not clear, you know? And that should be a constant process. If you realize that you get triggered, write down what triggers you and then find out, why did it trigger you? Is it because you're not clear in
Yes.
certain areas? Is it because you didn't do your work in really getting clear on what you want to do and what you want to offer and who you want to attract and what you want to stand for? Or is it just something personal? Is it something that is related to your teenage years? Or I don't know, you got bullied for something. I don't know, anything. Anything could have an impact. But I do have a fear list. I have fears of certain things. I procrastinate on certain elements, and that's natural as well. I want to say that, like, people might see and perceive us as like we're bold, but it takes us a
Mhm.
lot of effort. It-
Yes.
right? I mean, even for you, I don't know about you, but it's not as easy as it often looks.
It's not an overnight fix. And I feel
No.
like so many people think that that is the case, like that you work on something once and then it's done. But that's not the case. It is a continuous journey. It is continuously going back to learning more about yourself. It's really coming back to the foundations of self-awareness, knowing what triggers you, how to reframe it, where does the trigger come from. I mean, that's the process I use as well, like when with coaching, like, okay, where does this trigger come from? Most likely it comes from your priming period from the age of 1 to 7. Some people might not remember, but or it might not be, it doesn't even need to be something like super significant where you felt hugely judged and that's why you can't express yourself. It can be like subtle comments from authority figures in your life. Like I had teachers who told me, you will never make it in finance. Or I had other people saying, you can't write a book, you're too old. And I'm like, oh, fuck that. Like I made it in finance and I wrote a book. Like, there you go.
But
And it's,
Josie, sorry.
okay, go ahead.
No, I wanted to ask you. It took you time to say, I can
Yes,
do it, right?
it took me time. It took me all of these years of continuously going deep, doing the self-discovery, really knowing where this is coming from, really knowing what are the stories I have been telling myself, and also expressing the emotions I was feeling with that. And that can feel shit. I'm not gonna lie. It does feel shit because it hurts, right? It
Yeah.
is painful to go back to these memories and to let it out. But the thing is, if you keep on bottling it up, at some point you will explode anyway. So learning to regulate your emotions as you go will help you as well in getting better with the self-discovery, getting comfortable with the self-discovery. And the more you practice it, and the better you get, obviously, but also the more comfortable you get with that experience of this is me. It's okay to explore this part of me. It's just who I am. Well, some people call it shadow work, but it can simply just be, well, I've experienced that. This is what I've learned. Now I can adapt and adjust. But it does take you going back to that moment, creating that self-awareness in order for you to create that shift or the change, or to also allow yourself to express yourself in the way you want to be expressed.
100%. I mean, at the end, when we talk about mindset, it's really not something that you can turn on and off.
No.
You turn it on once and then it automatically gets turned off and you get into certain patterns back because that's simply what we learn. So I love the work that you're doing and getting deeper into really understanding how we are able to overcome that, how we really are able to express ourselves truly. And that's fundamental for you to build that brand. That's fundamental for you to be clear on the path that you want to go. And yeah, how do you want others to remember you? I always ask these questions. And why do you want them to remember you in that way? What is like the outcome you have? So
Mm.
I think it's really like, when people say, oh, I want to build a brand, I'm like, you already have one. But the question is it really the brand that you want people to have in their minds? Right? I mean, it's not something tangible. Again, it's the reputation, the people, what people think
Yes,
about, right? So is it the impact you want others to remember about you and what you're doing? That's where it gets so fundamental to work on your mindset. And it's all mindset work. Because if I want to say that as well, if you are not clear, you cannot express yourself and convince others to believe in that because you don't believe in it. That's where it doesn't make you happy. And you said that from the beginning. And I love that you mentioned it. We should be happy with the things that we're doing and with who we are because we all great. We all have great ideas. We all have an impact to make in other people's lives. Right?
exactly. And we all have dreams, and those I always say, like, those dreams are there for a reason. And there's a reason that we have these dreams. They are so unique to us, and there's literally no one else. It's impossible to have anyone else who can make these dreams become reality
Wow.
the same way as you can.
100%. And it's meant for you. Believe it or not,
Yes.
it's meant for you. And I want to say that, I mean, you talked about, I moved to Dubai. I never thought I'll get married. I never thought I'll do my own thing. I was in corporate. I always thought I'll
Hmm.
push it corporate. Sometimes things turn out in a way that you are not thinking about right away, but it's simply meant to be because you did some other work to prepare yourself for a certain step. So sometimes you might not see everything that clearly, but once the opportunity comes, you should grab the opportunity, right? I want to say that as well, honestly, because a lot of people, when they sit down, it's like, what is my vision? Sometimes not everything is clear on the path that you go in, and you need to maybe, I'm not saying readjust your vision, but It could be adjustments in there, right? It's a part of the
Yes.
journey.
Yes. Pivots are totally fine, totally
Yeah.
okay, and so needed when they are right.
I think so too,
Mm,
because I feel a lot of people back themselves down because they need to find one thing. They need to find one
yeah.
tagline, one bio, one. No, you can change anything. Nobody's taking a screenshot and putting it on their wall and be like, look what they did or
Yeah,
whatsoever,
6 months
right?
ago, like her bio looked completely different. No one will know.
No, exactly. I think the fear in our mind is much, much bigger than it really is. Sometimes
Mm,
I'll tell my husband, oh God, I'll go on the story and talk. He's like, Kerber, you think anyone cares? I mean, anyone cares about that small detail that you have to pinpoint out and say, do you think that is okay to me
yeah.
to talk about? Like, I honestly want to tell you, it's normal as well to have things in your mind where you're like, will this help people? Because you keep doing content, you keep expressing yourself. Sometimes you need to realign and say, is this who I am? Because
Mm,
you're consuming content, right? I want to say that we're consuming a lot. So we might be overwhelmed. But what I wanted to say when my husband told me, do you really think people care about that? People want to see what you have to share. They see light in whatever you're doing.
mm.
So we need to have the right environment as well to build a reputation. We need to be in the right environment, people that back us up, people that support us, like my
Oh,
husband telling me, wake up, there's nothing wrong in what you are overthinking right now in this certain area that nobody will focus on besides you, because we are more self-aware. We almost like pinpointing ourselves. Ooh, I didn't do that well.
mhm.
Ask the people if they realize that you didn't do that well. You're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how you think about that.
Yeah, that no, that's so true. And I have to agree because I love how my boyfriend always
Yeah.
pinpoints things that I might be overthinking about, or also sometimes pointing out things that I have overlooked. And it's like, have you thought about doing it this way? And sometimes I have to say, I'm admitting, like, at first I'm like, I don't want to do it any other way. I want to do it my way. But he's then just like gently nudging me and is like explaining and like, but you could try because it might help you. And I feel like that's important to have like this kind of like flexibility as well, and to not be like so fixated on this way and no other. It's this one bio and no other. It's this messaging and no other. No, you grow and evolve as a human being as well. You can change, you can improve all the time. That's what life is about.
Exactly. As you said, it's what life is about, and we all learn. I mean, think about all the steps that you did um, before thinking about where you want to go, because we always look up and we're like, that's where I want to go. But then think about
Mm,
all the things that you did already. Don't forget that. Look back. I think it's so fundamental because we keep rushing sometimes in achieving. I want to achieve this, and yeah, my quarterly goals are X, Y, Z, and then when you have those moments where you're just overwhelmed because you're growing every day, that's a part of the growth, the journey that
mm.
you said at life. Um, look back at your family and what they have done, what you did in comparison to what they've done. I
Yes.
think that's where the meaning gets created, and that's where it gets so valuable. And that's where you can tap on your shoulder and be like, whatever I was just fearing, I can be so proud about myself. Right? And the other day I was
Mm.
reading a book about NLP, and they were saying if you have like this voice inside of you talking to you in a certain way, just change it to a Mickey Mouse voice, because that voice might be sometimes so harsh,
Yes, I love that.
right? Then
Yes.
it's like ridiculous. What the hell?
Mhm.
Come on, that's ridiculous. So I truly care from the bottom of the heart that we all know that we are able to share a lot of impact. And there's moments where we think that I'm lost. Am I
Mm.
really sharing impact? And I love that we had it the other day, and you were telling me, Kruber, whatever you're doing is valuable. And that was like, thank you, Josie. Love back. Right? That's it. Whatever you're doing is so valuable as well. And that's the great part of it. So yeah,
Mm.
I'm totally into this. What I truly really care is, and I know that Josie, you care for that as well, is just to be aligned with yourself. Otherwise, it makes you sick and not happy.
Yes, that is so true. And I feel like everything we talked about so far literally also ties into personal leadership.
Hmm.
Being a leader of yourself, like leading your life, leading by example, walking the talk,
Yes.
representing yourself the way you want to be known for. Is there anything else that you feel like ties into personal leadership for you, or that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, when I talk about my clients, I call them brand leaders because, for instance, if you are a business owner or whatever you're currently doing, um, you're owning something, right? A business. Okay,
Yes.
great. But if you're a leader, then you know as well how to achieve a certain outcome. And that's what I understand under being a leader. And when we talk about leadership in that case, it's simply building up on that. And I think when we talk about leadership, is about being aware, self-aware, like you really focus on that and taking the steps for you to move forward. So being aware of that and knowing that whatever you're doing will eventually reach at a certain stage and sacrificing certain things and saying that I will do X, Y, Z, even though I know I'm not good at it right now. Like, for instance, when I did my first lives and stories, I couldn't even
Oh,
watch them sometimes. Like,
yes.
please make this
It's
stop.
like cringe level 100 when you've watched the
Yeah.
first ones back. You're like, oh my gosh. But still, like at the same time, you must have been so proud.
You train it. Yeah, of course. I mean, now imagine you have a podcast and I'm a guest on your podcast. That makes me incredibly proud. We all have a voice to share. And thank you for giving me that stage on that platform. And everyone that
Likewise.
listens to it, be aware that your voice wants to be heard as well. And if you don't know how to express it, how to get on the right track, that simply could be a reason that you're not in the right environment right now, that you need to seek out
Mm.
for other people that help you. Right. So getting back to that term of leadership, I don't know if that was like the area you wanted to, but I just find it so crucial when we talk about leadership and leaders to understand that there's a certain journey and never ends. Like it still keeps getting going. Right. It's not like, oh, I finish it here and then it's done. It
Mm.
depends on your goals for sure. But at the end of the day, you want to look back at your life and say, I'm happy with the things I've done. And oh God, my mistakes, they are super funny as well. And just laugh about them. I do laugh about my like
Mm.
embarrassing moments. I keep a laugher out because it's like so embarrassing. But it's a part of who I am now. Right?
Exactly. Exactly. And I also want to add on to that. It doesn't matter like where you are right now. What really matters is that you just start and that you continue the journey. Because as you were saying, for example, with about the podcast, like it was a dream of mine to have a podcast for so long. But for so long, I also was struggling to really speak my voice and speak my truth. But then I started anyway with recreating a new Instagram profile. I started my blog again. And in the beginning, like there were many people who said, oh, how dare you? Like no one will read your blog anyway. And I was like, no, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. I want to do this. This is important to me. And I kept on sharing. I kept on showing up. I did lives and I did masterclasses. And now obviously I have the podcast. Now I'm also on YouTube. Like it is a continuous journey and you build on what you've already done. But the key is really in starting.
100%. And the key is in understanding that not everything will end up successfully.
Yeah. And that's okay too.
100%. I mean, imagine every step that you would take. And I was telling myself this the other day. Imagine every step that you would take would work out perfectly. What's the challenge here? I mean,
Yeah. What would you learn?
yes, it's a part of our personal growth. And growth, no matter if it's you growing your muscles, there's a certain pain. And this
Yes.
to be lived. Otherwise, you're not achieving. Same like a child learns certain things, burns their hand on the oven or whatsoever. There's a certain pain, but they understand, they realize, they learn. Same like we do. We do a launch and we expect a certain outcome. It doesn't go well. Why it didn't go well? And then develop and get better and better and better until you found a good way. And you keep improving. You never stop improving, right? So crucial. So I love that you're mentioning it. It's really fundamental to get it started. And I know I'm somebody that hates when somebody tells them, oh, just do it. If you are in a brain, like if you're overwhelmed and somebody tells you, just do it. It's like, yeah, but I don't know how. And that's exactly the point. Maybe it's in your head. Write it on paper. Maybe you don't know how to write it. Draw it. Whatever helps you to express yourself. We all different in the way we're thinking. And this was set into ourselves from who we are, like how we learned as children, as well as what we got taught from our families and whatsoever. And understanding that not everyone learns through courses and masterclass. Everyone is
Exactly.
different. So be aware, like I have sheets everywhere with Post-its because I like to put my ideas on a paper and pin them and see them, because when I see them, I can remember them. It's all different. But don't think just because you're overwhelmed that there's something wrong. You just need to find a way to get everything out of your head. Close your phone, close the TV, close everything, and just really listen to yourself. I think that's fundamental as well to highlight.
Yeah. Yeah. And that really is also like the key to self-discovery. Just writing something down, like write something that's going on inside of you, write it down, put it down on paper, wherever it is. It doesn't even need to be like anyone reading it. It can just be for yourself. There's so many great authors out there who wrote the books just for themselves. They didn't write it for anyone to teach them anything. They just wrote it for themselves because they wanted to heal. And that's, I love that reasoning behind writing a book. And that's similar also to why I wrote my book, because I knew, one, it was a big dream of mine. That's why I wanted to write it, but also because I finally wanted to voice what was like cooking inside of me for all of these years of learning and absorbing everything about mindset and coaching. And it needed to be expressed. And for me, the best way was through writing a book. But it can also be an anonymous Twitter account.
I just love that so much. I can't wait for your book, by the way, right? One big fan here. And I definitely read everything that you're doing because it's so valuable. So yeah, it's really incredibly, it depends on your personality and what you want to achieve. And that's where it gets so important to be clear on it. And I think your journey, and if you look at the journey of other people, it's simply clear that it doesn't come up from sleeping and dreaming about something or whatsoever. There's a certain pain related to it. And the pain that you live through is something that you can express and others will feel related to it. And that's something really important when we're building brands. How are you going to make sure that others feel connected to it? How are you building that relatability? How are you building that trust? And that simply roots back to you. You don't have to use somebody else's story. It's your story that makes others be like, yes, I lived through the same things. I totally agree to you. And I love what you're doing. That's all you want, right?
That is so well said. And I feel like I could talk to you for even longer, but let's do the last segment of the show. So before we do it, so it will be like I'm asking you a couple questions that you can answer with one word or one short sentence. But before we do so, please tell me a number between 1 to 10.
7.
7. I like that. Lucky 7.
Yeah.
So I will be asking you 7 questions.
Oh no. All right, let's get it started.
You ready?
Yes, I hope so. No.
Of course. What is the Kübra way of living and leading your best life?
Oh, that's a deep question. And only one word is hard, really hard, especially for me as somebody who loves to talk. What is the Kübra way of living my true self in a way, right?
Yeah, living and leading your best life. Or as your best self.
I don't know if that's like the right thing, but the first thing that popped up to my mind was sunshine, light, whatever.
Yes.
That's like my energy as well. When I come to a room, I have a lot of energy to share. So I think that's not one word in one sentence, but I wanted to say sunlight or light, and express why I believe that.
Totally, yes. And I 100% agree. Like you even wear the blazer, like sunshine colors. Your personality literally is sunshine in person.
Thank you. But oh my God, what a coincidence.
Yes. I was like, as soon as you said sunshine, I was like, well, yeah, obviously.
So I think that would be the way. Yeah.
Okay. Question number 2. When shit hits the fan, what do you tell yourself to get through it?
That it will pass.
What is your key habit for success?
Keeping it going. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What is your favorite book that you would recommend to everyone?
Oh my God. That's something I cannot answer. It depends on. I would need to really skip it or have a list like that. There's really too many. I would say Josie's.
Oh, thank you. You haven't read it yet.
I just said I didn't read it because I literally I read all different. Like I don't, a lot of people they have like that's my favorite author whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I read like all types of books and to all areas.
Same.
I just go to So it's hard for me to say which book I would love the most. So I'm sorry.
Don't say sorry. That's totally fine.
Yeah, but that's something, by the way, I'm working on since a long time as well, because I do say a lot of sorry, which I don't want. But if people are interested, like if it comes to branding, there's a lot of great books from a great author, Martin Neumeyer, who's like one of the pioneers when it comes to branding and how to express yourself. And he's really explaining it so clear for everyone to understand more about branding. So that would be like one of the few books that I would recommend.
Yeah, if you do have some book recommendations, and it's several, maybe you can send me like a little list and I will put them in the show notes for people to like refer to, because I'm sure they want to look up on some of the things we have discussed as well.
Sure.
Awesome. Okay, we still have 3 more questions to go. What advice, like what last advice would you love to give the listeners?
I don't know if it's an advice, but I just wanted to say that when I said sunlight, we all have light to share. We all have impact to make. So I just want to make everyone aware that they are great in what they're doing and whatever they're sharing. And there will be people celebrating them for that. They just need to express it. If it's in their head only, it won't lead them forward. So I'm sorry again, Josie, that it wasn't one word or just a sentence.
That's so okay.
I'm not sorry. Take it back.
Exactly. Take it back. I'm not accepting your apology. Question number 6. There might be a tricky one, but let's see. What is the theme song of your life?
There's a certain melody in my head. It's my own song. So
I love that. You have your own song.
I don't think anyone wants to hear it. Yes, I love to sing and everything, and I love to make music. But I'm not an expert. Like I never studied anything or what is. Wow, that's so hard as well. Because I'm a mixture of everything. I love every type of music and every language.
I'm the same.
I would say some great reggaeton beats, something like with movement.
Yeah.
Like my way, something.
Something like a bit tropical.
Yeah, could be.
Ooh.
Same like a Turkish influence, like influence. Yeah, it could be something like this. So a lot of small drums and just beats. For me, it's like really movement. Like something like that. I hope that is.
I like that. Like, because movement, it just fits. So that's perfect. Yeah. Okay. Last question. What is your main takeaway from today?
My main takeaway from today is that there's a reason why you meet people, and there's a reason why you feel attracted to certain people. And there's a reason why I can go deeper into so many topics. I could talk with you for more hours. So be aware of the people that you meet, because they bring some light into your life and they make you aware of things that you're doing well and not so well. So the key takeaway from today, it's my first guest podcast here. And I realized that I need to be more sharp in the things that I'm saying and be able to use one word. But that's something I want to improve on as well, right? And I'm that personality. I talk a lot. So connection and being in the right environments is crucial. It makes you happy. Like I go out of this call now and I'll be just fulfilled out of laughter and joy because I had this beautiful call with you. So there's a reason why you meet people, always.
Oh my gosh, that resonates so much with me. And I can only say, like, thank you for being here today with me. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for this chat. Thank you for your sunshine energy, for your laughter, for your jokes. Like, again, my cheeks just hurt. And also, definitely, like, maybe in like 3 months' time, you come back on the podcast and we will see how much you already improved.
Yes.
That would be so cool.
Myself. No sorries. And no, thank you for allowing me to be part of the space here. And thank you for your time as well, right? I want to say that. I love that. And thank you for connecting. And I'm happy that we met. Really, really.
Yes. This is literally something I am just so grateful for. And even though you are in Dubai, right, and I'm in London, I still feel like I could just hug you through the screen and be like, oh, I want to squeeze you so hard.
Yeah, I have the same feeling for you. And that's what sunlight represents as well, right? The sun shines, you shine it back. And that's why I believe in sunlight, or I want to portray sunlight, because
Mm,
once you shine out, you get it back. It's warmth, right? It's heat.
yes.
There's a feeling behind it. So yeah,
Yes.
I totally believe in that.
It's all energy, right? It's all connected.
100%. 100%.
Oh gosh, thank you so much, Kübra, for being here with me today. I loved this chat, and I could just talk with you for hours. I really have to like force myself to be like, no, let's stop here.
Thank
But
you.
I just want to say also to all the listeners, if you do want to get in touch and connect with Kübra, everything will be in the description box down below. And we will also give you a list with book recommendations so you can read up on all the good stuff. And obviously, do say hi to her and show her some love. And yeah, tell her also like what you took away from today, what you learned, what was your main takeaway, or what does sunshine mean to you, whatever it is that you want to share. We always love hearing from you. And yeah, is there any like last words from your side before we wrap up?
No, I just can't wait to build more connections and enter people's life and see the sunshine from others that just listen to this. So connect with us. We always love to connect. That's the reason why we're here, Josie and I, and everyone that is in the online space, right? We're searching for people to connect with us, to build, to join the community and everything. So yeah, please let us know what you think and your opinions on branding or anything. Yeah, let us know. I'm happy.
Ah, yay, thank you so much. And see you all again next week, Monday, with another episode. Bye. Let's
Speak
do this.
Chinese as well, right?
A,
Mandarin.
a teeny tiny bit. I can say like,
Could you start the intro with it?
no, no. I can only say like, 我的名字是 Chao Xi.
Ah,